Hi everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology, and this is your weekly astrological transits. I'll go from the 11th to the 17th, and it's a really big week. I'll show you with these charts when I bring you over the table, but yeah, Pluto's going retrograde in the beginning of the week, and then Saturday, Saturn goes retrograde. So I'll talk about all those things, plus quite a bit that's happening beforehand, or in between, I should say. So hold on, let me swap out cameras and we'll get this going. Hope you're well, by the way. Okay, so one thing I forgot to say right off the bat is we also have the new moon coming in on Saturday night. So I have an extra chart down there. I have so many charts, and I'm going to try and get through them quickly, or as quick as I can, but of course it's going to be a while. We're on a ride here. So as you can see, 2:36 a.m. June 11th, Sunday morning, early, Pluto retrogrades from Aquarius. It was 0 degree Aquarius. Now we're back to that 2959, that anaretic degree of Pluto, which means that things will be more intense than usual. Back into Pluto, the planet of power and transformation. All of life is pretty much a power management issue once you're into adulting. But if you're a dirty politician, you might be stuck at a 13-year-old wounding sojourn, and you're needing to transform that. If that's the case, it's going to bring things up for people like Rudy Giuliani, who has a late degree Capricorn on his south node, which is a past life point. So, but let's stick with, I'm going to go through these next few charts to talk about Pluto in Capricorn and then moving forward into Aquarius. So, the important thing to notice with this one is that at this point, Pluto is squaring the nodes. Okay, we've been going through that, and we will continue to go through Pluto squaring the nodes until December 7th. So, there's that for all of us. And not to forget that, actually, is it Eris that's here? So this feminine counterpart to Pluto, which I think wins in the long run, because she takes, I think it's 556. Yeah, it's either 556 or 566 years to get through one's zodiac sign. So she's been in Aries for our lifetime, and maybe a couple lifetimes. I know for sure mine. And so this has to do with women coming into their own, getting through all the work that needs to be done and coming into their independence. And of course, we're always going to be bumping up against the outer limits of people who want to abuse their power. And it will also, male or female, it's going to take us back to the wisdom of our past. And with the South Node being in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus, we're in those realms of self-preservation, survival, and betrayals. So we are all, as humans now, healing issues because we're alive on the planet in 2023. We've come in to heal our issues with dictators, fascists, authoritarians. All of those issues are up for healing for all of us. Kids can't heal things when they're little, but their parents can build a better future for them, and that's what we're here to do. So The important thing to focus in on is that anaretic, nth degree of intensity, which gives us the opportunity as individuals to come into our integrity even more deeply and to work through issues of power. Now, you can see that we also have this opposition to Venus, so it's going to be intense, and it has been. We've had this opposition to Venus. We had Mars kicking it up, right? I mean, boy, that was instinctually the need to drop into our hearts and not get into those areas, those issues of oh my goodness, with the polarity between Aquarius and Leo, we were dealing with my way or the highway type of thing. We've been, well, just look at the dirty politicians and you can see where they don't care about humanity, and that's not going to bode well as Pluto, because we have these retrogrades back to that nth degree for a reason, and it's to clean up the powerful abuses, or the abuses of power, people in power, I should say, of the past, so that we can move forward. So we can expect for things to be exposed. And in Mars, we saw with Mars and Leo, we saw some politicians doubling down, Trump in his documents case, I mean, all of that. He is getting busted left and right, and people are coming out of the woodworks. They're turning on each other so fast that, well, it's going to be funny to see, he and Rudy go at it at some point. But so now notice how Mars is at 12 degrees. It's out of orb, okay, so we don't have the Mars opposition anymore. And Mars is out of the orb of that grand fixed cross, and it's just about done, too. And then but Venus has been in the mix. And because Pluto's retrograde, Venus is moving quickly this way, it will be done with the Venus square to the south node. That'll be done on Wednesday. So we're in the last few days of intense, with Pluto here in Capricorn, we have intense, and Venus, intense money issues, power issues, relationship issues, an intense need to open our hearts and let go of, because Pluto can sometimes be kind of compulsive. So I think I said something last week about not shoulding all over ourselves, like we should be this, we should do that, we have to, all of that. Those are coming from compulsions. And if there's a love relationship thing going on, it might be, I remember working with tons of younger people over the years, and whenever a Venus-Pluto aspect would come up in their natal chart, like let's say Venus transiting over their natal Pluto, or Pluto on Venus that sits there for years, that is the hardest. They would work through issues of feeling, like I have to be with this person, or I have to get away from this person, and then, the abuses that were happening from the person they were trying to leave. But for us older people that have worked through those issues, it might be feeling very connected in the heart with some people in very powerful ways that make you very grateful for them, because Leo at its best is, that ability to express yourself, and then to have someone powerfully receive you at the other end is beautiful. It's a wonderful experience for both parties. And this could have to do with groups as well. It doesn't have to just be, one person or one-to-one. So I'm also with this Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn, this is an event chart. So it's going to be in effect for months. And with Jupiter here at this, at the square, or the north, I'm sorry, not Jupiter. Jupiter's out of range. The north node and Eris. There's a pattern here. Should have highlighted this in right here. Oh wait, hold on. Actually, I can. I have my pen right here. So these two puppies right here are really important when it comes to the North Node, focusing on what you want to build in the future, what you're focused into in very powerful ways. And then Eris is there to bring you the instinctual courage to go for it. So I want to say, just go for it. The groundedness of Taurus with the North Node, and then with the support of Jupiter, because Jupiter's still conjunct right here. We're dealing with the ability to bring something in that will broaden our belief system, that will help us invest in something, and that something, I think, is you. I really feel like this will help us to believe in ourselves more than ever, and to to learn something about ourselves that we didn't know before. It's also, Jupiter's about abundance and Taurus is about abundance. So there's this expansion of opportunities to create, to grow in any way that you want, and but to deepen your internal wealth. So if you have that inside of you, that if you know that you're enough, or if you know that you can step up to the plate, and there will always be people to support you and help you, and you will grow. If you know that your soul will always grow as you step up to the challenges, then things are going to move along very beautifully for you over the years. Jupiter is going to stay in Taurus for quite some time. It stays in one sign about a year, but sometimes with the retrogradation it can take longer. I'll give you dates on that later. But we're in that realm of things that get easier. An adventure, sometimes learning, and that's especially true with just a couple hours after. 1 hour after Pluto goes retrograde in Capricorn, which is very. Just think of Capricorn as being integrity and the nuts and bolts and the work and the duty that you put into something, and then self-responsibility and control, and you're willing to put the time in. It's about hard work. And as long as you can let go of those old feelings around, not being seen, and not, and I say that because of the Leo energy opposed, but also with Capricorn. Capricorns don't like to be overlooked. Right? So as long as we don't overlook ourselves, and as long as we respect ourselves, then sometimes we're going to get it from the outside, and sometimes we won't. And when we don't get the respect from the outside, it doesn't matter, because that's, everything is from the inside first. The inner affects the outer. So, and we'll talk about more about that when we get to Saturn retrograde too, towards the end of the week. But so bottom line is Mercury moving into Gemini, things are going to, and within an hour of, when you wake up Sunday morning, unless you wake up in the middle of the night, Mercury will be in Gemini. And so 3:27 a.m. you can see here. And when that happens, there'll be probably more curiosity, probably a much easier time communicating and learning and gathering information, and maybe linking up patterns and analyzing things that just think of the curiosity to really get to the heart of the matter and analyze something. And with the South Node in Scorpio holding space to go deeper, that's perfect. And then with Pluto trining, we still have this going on all week. I think, pretty sure all week. Trining, I've had my head in so many charts I can't remember, but we'll see when we get there. With Mercury trine Pluto, Pluto wants to go deep and investigate. In fact, that's why Pluto stays so long, between 15 and 21 years or so in a sign, or 14, 21. It takes between 243 years to 248 years to get around the zodiac, and I've seen it move because, remember, it's an elliptical orbit. It's not circular. And the ends are shorter at sometimes. And so I've seen it as low as 11 years, and I've seen it as high, so far in my lifetime, as high as 25 years in one sign. So it all depends on, I think, how many souls need to come in with Pluto in a certain sign, because Pluto is the transformation of the soul. So, with this retrograde from Aquarius back to Capricorn, you can see this as being, this event chart with Mercury involved. We are thinking more deeply. Pluto wants to go deep and get to the bottom of things and eliminate what isn't true. And so when it was in Taurus, and it still is for another hour here, but in Taurus we were thinking more about safety, self-preservation, abundance, the long game, things like that. Now in Jupiter, so we have stabilized something there in that fixed sign of Taurus. Now while Jupiter's still holding space for that fixed, solid place we all want to be, but life has changed, and Mercury moves on and gives us that that spirit of, well, let's think outside the box a little bit more. We've got this, okay, so now how do we want to build upon what we've already established? And Mercury's going to help us do that. And especially with the Sun there in Gemini, we're already thinking along those lines. So imagine being an investigator over a corrupt politician, and they've been going more deeply and finding, the money scandals, the sex scandals, the RICO charges, they're bringing things together. So we can all expect, because Mercury's the messenger, we can all expect to learn a lot, I think, in this next month. So, or at least to the end of the month. But other than that, I will, this configuration, it's going to be, I'll talk about it every week because it's going to be in the charts. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And then I wanted to give you a little glimpse into when Pluto goes direct. It'll be October 10th, 6:10 p.m. Pacific. Okay? So between now, right, June 11th to October 10th, we have this opportunity to get back inside of whatever it is that we're trying to bring through that would really help us transform our souls, to really be in our integrity, to really ground in deeply into who we are. And you can see when Pluto goes direct, the nodes will have changed by then, because they change in July. You can see that all of this experience, the sun will be cooking its way. Mercury and the sun will be together, and we're pretty much look at that stellium there. That's amazing. But the nodes go backwards and the sun goes forward. So these two are cooking up something together there. And if you see the nodes retrograde, the little RX means nothing. They're not planets; they're points in space around the moon. So, but you can see the moon and Venus will be together when things go direct. Virgo is one of the other Earth signs, right? And then we still have Uranus and Jupiter. Jupiter's getting close. We'll talk about that when we have that conjunction. Good time for buying lotto tickets there. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you that. I'm just going to go ahead and move forward. You can see we still have that square to the nodes because that doesn't shift until December. And then I wanted to give you this chart just so you can have these times. Because, you guys can check online and get things. But sometimes, or not sometimes, I would say pretty much all the time, these articles on certain websites are, they're written up months, at least months, if not maybe a year ahead of time. And then when the event comes up, it's actually at a different time, sometimes a different day. So because I've done this with my astrology program, and it's updated constantly, we get updates. So the time will be more accurate the closer you get. So Pluto will be in Aquarius for good. Well, not for good, but for 20 years. On November 19th, it's a Tuesday, November 19th, 4:58 p.m. Pacific. Okay? And it will stay. So this is November 19th, 2024. And we'll have this going on, and so you can, if you want, screenshot this chart and look at it. I have a zero Aries chart calculation here, so you'd have to put this in your chart to see where things are, but yeah, see how the focus is totally different. We're out. Look at all these. This is great, actually, all these trines. But we're out of that square to the nodes. And that's because the nodes have moved as well. Okay, so then, oh yeah, I didn't bring in that other chart. What was the other one this one I was curious about. The 2024 election. So here, if you want to screenshot that. I clocked it at 8 a.m. November 5th, just to start looking at it's because it's a Tuesday. It's always that Tuesday, and you can see Pluto's still in Capricorn there. The nodes have flipped, Aries to Libra. The Moon and Venus in Sag. Things might go pretty quickly. Mercury's in Sag. We might not have, because that last one, man, we had to wait quite a length of time. Yeah, Uranus is retrograde, but that trine up to Pluto. So it looks good to me, actually. This looks very good. Saturn's still retrograde there. So yeah. Okay, so that's it with the charts for moving forward. But I still have another one. I guess I left it in my kitchen. When it's okay. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so now we can go through. This will probably be our weekly overviews when we start this here. Yeah. So Jupiter's still affecting us with the North Node, bringing us forward. We're going in this direction, and we're also bringing through the wisdom of the past and trying to create something. We're in this tension field of creating what we really want from our hearts, like doing the work we love, even though we might not make as much money as we could doing other things, right? I mean, sometimes you get to a certain age or a certain point in your life, and it's not so much about the money anymore. But with Venus here, squaring Jupiter, Jupiter's in a really good position, and Venus is in a good position too. Even though it's a square, it can be a challenge. But Venus helps us work from the heart, helps us improve things. So maybe we're feeling like, okay, how can we be more effective? So if you want to, look and see what houses Venus rules in your chart, you'd look to your Taurus and Libra houses, and those are the areas that you're going to be. And then also where Leo is, and for all of you Leos, it's going to be a good time. But Venus will go retrograde in July, so we have some little bit of time, to maybe relax and make more of a plan. But also, I feel like there's some letting go of compulsions because we don't have this opposition anymore. We're coming out of orb, in Mars. There's no opposition to Mars or Venus, to Pluto. It's Pluto that brings through those compulsions so much. So for Monday, I clocked it at 4 p.m., on the 12th because I wanted to look at the moon here connected to Chiron. And you can see that there, Chiron close to Eris is also helping us to have more courage, to move forward, to initiate new things, to be more daring. And yeah, so early in the morning, you can just imagine that the moon has been cooking its way through the earlier degrees of Aries. And it's probably a pretty dynamic day. We're going to have Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn, and then Saturn trining the South Node. That aspect of the architect there, that's going to be lasting all week. And also today, so what that means, I should say, instead of just showing it to you. So Jupiter's at 5, working its way towards that exact 7-degree sextile. So sextile here at this end brings in an opportunity, and the opportunity coming from Saturn is to create form that helps you evolve spiritually. And then we also have that connection to the wisdom of the past, all the experiences that you've been having over the years of your, life, you've learned. You keep learning, you keep growing, you keep trying out new things, you keep learning, through trial and error what works. And that's a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. So, yeah, and then we also have, let's see, from the sextile here to Pluto, I think this lasts through October. I'm pretty sure it's done by Halloween, but I think we still have this for quite some time. And this, because Neptune in Pisces, Neptune to me is source energy. It can be delusion if you're working from, escapism. If you're working from, suffice to say, the important thing with Neptune is it will dissolve. It goes very, very slowly through signs. It's about 165 years to get around the chart, and it's about 14 years through each sign. So, it gives us time, and it dissolves whatever is not good for us anymore. But it can be, if we're not working in the light, which I'm sure you guys are, you wouldn't be listening, right? You wouldn't even be interested in astrology or spirituality at all. It doesn't have to be astrology, but you wouldn't be listening to my channel, I don't think. Because I'm not about the other stuff. That Neptune on the dark side can be about numbing out. It can be about resigning and just saying, oh, life isn't fair. Life is never fair. And, because people that have those attitudes aren't coming from seeing the broadness of lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. They think that this is, you only have this one lifetime and that's all you get. When you're dead, and it's over. Well, why in the world would our Creator create an experience like that? How are we supposed to learn and grow and evolve? How can humanity itself grow and evolve if you just get one shot? That's like having a baby learning to crawl and stand up and fall down, and they go, oh, that's it, you can't walk. Never again. Do not try that. You cannot do that ever again. I mean, how ludicrous, right? So I do not believe that is the way things are. But Neptune on the dark side can be things like spiritual bypassing even, where people are just, they're involved in cults, and they're involved in anything that takes them off of their life path, anything that keeps them from looking more deeply. It's, spiritual bypassing is all about avoiding your life path or avoiding your evolution. But we're all we're hardwired for evolution. So there's that. You have to just, get in alignment. Might as well get into it because it's going to happen. And with Pluto, it's always, that's my planet of you're going there anyway, so you might as well go there willfully and work with it. Or you're going to get there. It's like going on a trip. You're going to get there. Do you want to get there the hard way, being drugged, or do you want to have a nice ride, have a kind ride? Yeah. So it's all about, all comes back to learning how to love yourself. And then from there, you learn how to love others too. And sometimes it's the other that helps you learn how to love yourself. Those are the best relationships. So anyway, let's see, what else for this week with a pattern? Well, no, hold on. Let me focus into today with the moon here, conjunct Chiron. Notice how I didn't get to exact second, but I got to the same degree. So the moon and Chiron at 19 degrees Aries is, the moon brings in the public. So we might have something that's healing for the public because we've been on this ride with dark, politics, and there could be something that helps us to move forward because we're feeling better. And I say that especially because of the trine, double trine going over here to Mars. So we have Mars. Now, Mars moves pretty quickly, but at 13 degrees, it's got to catch up to 19. And so there's an easier flow of energy to heal. Mars moves energy. So any ways that you may have been stuck in the past, stuck in some wounding, because Chiron is our deepest wounding, but it's also our deepest gifts. Now, not everyone has Chiron in Aries, but we're still all, with Chiron in Aries, we're still all holding space for moving forward. We're still all in the experience of holding space for each other and for being with each other, and opening to and encouraging especially anything that's the most daring thing you've ever done, anything that creates win-win situations, anything that helps you assert your individual, unique, beautiful self, and that's it. Now, if you're having any trouble, and the moon can kick that up, because the moon is, often brings up emotional. So if you're feeling impulsive, if you're feeling left out, if you're pissed off about not coming first, if you're worried about being abandoned, just don't abandon yourself. You can always come first to yourself. If you don't leave yourself out of the equation, then you most likely won't be left out eventually. And, it's true with all aspects of life. Because we live on this planet of duality, if half the time in our experiences with each other we are seen and loved and heard and understood and have pleasure together and have heart-to-heart connections with each other, then we're doing great. And the other half of the time that we're not, we're going to be okay because we can hold space for our own selves, right? We can party on with our own damn self. Okay, so let's see, is there anything else for this day that won't be, well, these other ones are moving forward. Oh, here, let's talk about this. So the sextile here, we have this opportunity, 3 opportunities here, and the sun to shine the light in, with the sun shining light in Gemini. Again, here we are with Gemini. It's questioning and learning. It's communicating with each other until we are seen and heard and understood, because that's what it's all about. And especially with Mars and Venus holding space in Leo, we spiritually evolve through each other. We need relationship with each other we need relationship in order to evolve. That's just the way we're all interdependent on each other that way. But we can work out our any issues we have around dependency and codependency with each other too. That's just a part of human nature. So with this opportunity, 3 opportunities with the sun shining the light here to think in new ways, to communicate about new things, to share our emotions. Now, because there's the connection and the moon moving, even more closely. If somebody is not listening, and I see it on the news all the time, and it kind of pisses me off for a second, and then I realize, oh yeah, they're just human, and we all have those days. It can be one of those days today on the news where you notice, or this could happen to you as well, where you're trying to find your words, you're trying to finish your train of thought, you're trying to finish saying what you started saying, and somebody says, but what about, and there's that coming in, okay? That can happen. And that is especially frustrating when we have, because, so the sun's here at 21, Neptune's at 27. So as the days go on, all week long, we're going to have this square. So there's a challenge here to be in your spiritual self and express the words. Now, sometimes with Neptune in any sign, but especially in Pisces, the words are hard to find. It can be one of those qualities of, you're in your spirit, and you have your guides and your guardian angels or your spirit team around you, and you're trying to find the right words, and there's a challenge there. So be very, very patient with yourself this week and with others, and do your best to not cut someone off when they're, speaking. Like, let them finish their train of thought. There's nothing wrong at all with a pregnant pause. There's never anything wrong with that. Especially us in our human relationships, we're not on the news. We're not a newscaster and needing to fill every space with a word. Right? Yeah. And especially to remember that all the way through the end of July, we have Saturn to, trine to the south node. So we are going to be, and with the sextile here to Jupiter, as Jupiter moves forward, this will be tightening up. That aspect of the architect is here for quite some time, but this Saturn to the south node, just think in terms of you're building a spiritual foundation and you're relying on the wisdom of the past, but you're also doing your best to transform the past so that the past that you didn't like experiencing doesn't repeat itself. And you will have the gift of opening up and expanding your belief in yourself and your guides, your spirit team, and others with their spirit team. And can you imagine how full the room can be? Or the rooms, like imagine on in the chat rooms, because we all have guides. We all have our guardian angels. So and then we have ourselves in our relationship with them, and there's those personality things happening. Because I truly believe that every soul, every spirit, when the soul is completely evolved into the spirit, then it's an even brighter light. But I've always believed that we each have our own spiritual essence that's ours. That we don't, when we go back to our spirit homes, when we cross over and go back home, I don't believe that we dissolve into just a big blob of love. I believe we each have our own unique aspect of love, power, and peace. So there's that. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and move on. So with Tuesday, oh, you know what? Hold on. I should speak to this Saturn quincunx here to Venus, because this could be, I did already speak to being patient and coming from the heart and making those adjustments that kind of slow you down and let you feel into the perfect moment to start speaking or to be quiet and listen. With Jupiter in Taurus and the North Node in Taurus, it's all about listening, and we will build bridges in beautiful, loving relationships to the degree that we can listen to each other. But then again, sometimes, I've had that happen before. If you're with someone that doesn't come up for air and they have forgot that you're even there and you're there just for them to have someone to talk to or talk about something else, and they've, long ago forgotten that, they're going on and on and on, and you don't get a word in edgewise, that could be one of the tension fields there, and that absolute adjustment would be made. And that's another possibility too with Mercury, with the quincunx to the south node. Notice these are tight orbs, right? We don't, with quincunxes, we're in an orb of less than 3 degrees, 0 to 3 degrees. So, yeah. But Mercury moves pretty quick, but at least for today, it might even be for tomorrow too. There will be adjustments in the way we think and communicate, and you might be with somebody and remember, oh yeah, I've had this experience with this person before where they don't come up for air. And, you wind up, if you're like me, shying away from conversations with them because what could have been a 5-minute conversation that included both of you is turned into a half an hour and they're still talking. And they've gone on to something else, and they don't even know whether you're there or not, really, because you need that darn heart connection. So Tuesday, 5 p.m., I put the chart at 5 p.m. so that we could bring in the moon conjunct the north. So here we've gone with the moon, right here, crossing over Chiron, crossing over Aries. So the moon, our emotional bodies, the way we connect the dots, the way we respond, the way we attach our awareness and our presence and our bodies and, our tummies and everything that we digest and what we nurture, that's all the moon. So there again, I think I've already spoken pretty good to, or given enough time to the problems that could come up. But now that the moon has crossed over Chiron and Eris, we're feeling more solid and stable. This might be a really good day for massage, cooking, taking care of our bodies, balancing the checkbook, taking care of all those Taurus-related things. Taurus is about feeling secure. It's about things that are of the body, sensuality, right? But it's also about what we own. And with Jupiter there, Jupiter and the moon there, we're probably thinking more about expanding what we own or simplifying the things that we own. And we notice that we do have, this triple square going up to Pluto. So again, it goes back to what is it that we want to nurture? What is it that we want to work on or not? Because Pluto will help us eliminate the things that we don't want. And with the connection to the South Node, we have the past experience to go, oh yeah, I tried this. I don't know, why am I still doing this? That kind of thing, Yeah. And because we have, this grand cross going in here with Venus. So Mars is out of the equation, but Venus, what I really want to focus in on, because Venus squaring the node, that'll move on pretty quick. Venus is already at 7. It'll another degree and it's pretty much out. 6 for sure would definitely do it. But Venus squaring Jupiter, this is good. It's can be a little bit of a tension field, and Venus, as it moves forward, it'll square Uranus as well. But for now, let's focus in on the 3 squares here to the moon, North Node, and Jupiter. Just to Venus, not Mars. But this brings in wanting to move forward in a way that makes you feel safe and more secure, and you're focused more on how do you expand in very concrete, solid ways. And this might be one of those days all day long, because I clock this at 5 p.m., but this is building the energy up all day long. So as far as a good day to get some hard work done, or to really get somewhere in a nice relationship. Now remember, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, but Venus with this connection there, we're in the realm of money. And we're in the realm of security. We're in the realm of all the things that we own. And I don't know about you, but I've been kind of going through things like in my garage, and it's like, oh, this is gonna go to the thrift store, to Goodwill or whatever. This is going to be recycled. This is, and you just kind of work your way through it. It's like that. What do I want, and do I want to nurture it and keep it or take care of it, or do I want to let it go, right? And you can see here with Venus, with that in conjunct to Saturn and and Mercury to the south node there, like I was saying, all that's still into play. Do we want to nurture these relationships? Can I get a spiritual solid foundation with this person? Are we like, soul sisters and brothers, or are we going to move on because we have the past to reflect on? So yeah. But, for most part, we live and learn, and the relationships come around, and we can always grow together. But if we're not growing and people are holding you back, then we're definitely going to move on. And you can see, still Saturn with that in conjunct to Venus, because Venus has to get out of that orb of Saturn. Well, just a couple more degrees, and yeah. So anyway, this day I left it at 5 p.m. because it brought in the moon cooking up to Uranus. So this could be some very intuitive insight. Could also be one of those days where there's so much going on. Yeah, definitely. So much going on, possibly around the home and with family, because, the moon rules home and family and the roots. Just think of, in astrology, everything of the fourth house. Foundationally, with Saturn in Pisces, and with this in conjunct to Venus on another level, this could be family relationships that are sucking your energy. You might want to have to be careful there, or you might want to, focus on that. With things might come up with the moon and Uranus, because Uranus can be very unpredictable, and it can also wake us up. It can be a little shocking, and then if there's something we need to detach from, Uranus will help us with that as well. So it could be, like in a worst case scenario, it could be a family relationship where they keep borrowing money and you're like, oh man, this is not getting better. They're not trying, that kind of thing. And then you say no. And that's especially true with Chiron here trining Mars. You could be feeling like they're leaving you and what is good for you out of the equation. And you're needing to move on, right? But it's a little bit of a process going on here, it looks like. Now, on another level, one other way to look at this, we're in with Mercury sextiling Venus. We have opportunities to speak from the heart, come together, and move forward together. And especially in ways that help people heal, and ways that help us move forward and assert our uniqueness, assert ourselves, positive self-assertion. Let's see, what else? Well, we can expect throughout the day, because remember I ran this at 5 p.m., or ran it for 5 p.m., but the moon crossing over Jupiter had probably been, between that 24 hours, right? See, this moon to there. Yeah. And over the north node. We might have gotten some really good guidance as to our life path or just direction for now, directional focus for now. And now with the moon hitting Uranus, you might get something else, some more information. You could have some awareness in dream time even. And that's especially true, with this Neptune sextile Pluto through October, through the end of October. That's actually really good dreamtime guidance, right? Because Neptune is your spirit team while you're sleeping, and then Pluto is your connection to your soul. So it's your soul on Earth, and then your spirit team helping to guide you and to get into new possibilities, because Pisces, just think of anything you'll devote yourself to because you love it, anything that helps evolve your soul on your spiritual path, and it helps to let go as well. So letting go of what doesn't work, moving towards what does. It's good for being much more sensitive and open and empathing. It's not good for addiction though. It's but if you might get guidance about what this is a little compulsive here, or what am I getting addicted to this? I better stop buying that, or whatever this is, or I bet I should stop doing that. When you work through it, because you have to go through it in order to clear it out, but when you do work through it, then you can be done. And that's the thing with the possibility with Pisces there. But I tend to look at Pisces and think, just open, because there are so many other possibilities. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. So this is just not too many hours later, but 1:54 a.m., the moon is exactly conjunct Uranus. This could have us up early, and so here's another warning around get to bed early as you can, or if you can't and you just wake up and you can't go back to sleep, then maybe do something positive like meditate. Even if you're just still laying there resting, you can always meditate. We've got guidance coming in here with the moon and Uranus. But Uranus tends to wake us up, and it can sometimes bring in energy where you feel kind of restless, right? So it might be a good day for a nap on Thursday if you do wake up early. And yeah, with Jupiter opposing the South Node, and this has been happening the opposition to the South Node it's been there for some time. It's moving out of orb, though, because the nodes are going this way and Jupiter's going this way as well. So we've got a little separation going on here. But anyway, Jupiter opposing the South Node can bring a breakthrough from the past, a place where you've been stuck and now you're not. Because Jupiter doesn't tend to, unless it's retrograde and it's hitting a sensitive point or a planet in your chart, usually you're not feeling stuck. It will open us up and help us to heal. But sometimes there's loss. With Jupiter, it's possible to have loss. That happens. But it's not necessarily loss that's, really, really, really challenging. Although, we always, when we lose a loved one, we grieve. We lose a fur baby and we grieve. We lose any little creature that we love and we grieve. We could be grieving for, climate change that's going on. Oh, and my heart goes out to everyone in Canada and New York and the East Coast. My goodness. I know what that's like. I've lived through that so many times being on the West Coast, or West, the forest over here. I'm not on the coast, but yeah. Man, I remember, was it I think it was 2017? Yeah, I think it was the summer. I know for sure it was the summer. I'm pretty sure it was either 2017 or no, it had to have been 2017 because I moved to this house in 2018. I lived up in the forest, and it was just that entire summer, it was like that Armageddon, and we've had it since then. It's just the wildfire smoke is such an intense thing, and it happens with lightning, and here we are. Uranus rules lightning. And so there might be a little fever pitch that comes through, but then maybe there's a breakthrough as well from that. maybe it shifts by Thursday. I really hope so. Let's see what else is going on with the moon. Now, actually, nothing. See these points here. You can see that there are no aspects to the moon that early in the morning. But let's go to the next day and see what happens. So by noon, the moon is conjunct. Oh, I have it straight there. There we go. The moon is hooked up with Mercury. You can see right here. And the sun square to Neptune that's been there. I spoke to that. I gave voice to that already. But the moon hooked up with Mercury, well, that's another busy day. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of information coming through. The moon ruling the public could be something that breaks through on the news. Mercury ruling the news. Yeah, something could come through there. And we've got that 9 degrees here with the moon and Mercury, and you can see that squares Saturn in Pisces. So there could be a real challenge to some dirty politicians that try to play the victim game. Oh, they're beaten. Oh, everybody said, oh, it's a witch hunt. But no, you did something bad in the past. And you guys know what that's like when you, just think in terms of getting a speeding ticket and you're like, oh yeah, I've had this coming for a long time. Right? I used to do that when I was younger and finally get pulled over and go, yeah, it's my comeuppance, And so with dirty politicians, they've been doing it for years. They've been doing it and getting away with it, and yeah. So I think this will be a heavy news day, and I think our mind and our minds and our tummies and our bodies, I think we're going to be learning and communicating. There could be a good mind-body connection going on here where you learn things about yourself, or learn where your body teaches you what's good for it, and your mind finally goes, oh yeah, okay, I can't eat that anymore, or I need more rest. I need to schedule naps and make myself lay down. It might be the awareness that you have a real need for meditation to calm the mind. And yeah, because at some point we all get there. We all realize it's a real need. Let's see, what else? To Saturn, yeah. Good for spirituality. This aspect is really good for spirituality. And even Neptune squaring the sun, that's good because this Neptune connection to the sun will give you some energy and spotlight on your spiritual work and hanging out with your guides, getting messages in dream time. And Mercury, I'm sorry, the sun, oh yeah, it's coming in, okay. The sun trine the south node. This is growing. So again, shining a spotlight on the past, man, definitely. And then look at this aspect of the architect to Eris. I wonder, is it possible? Well, anything's possible. But could we get maybe we could get some good news? Because it was right about this time. Well, we had the leak in May, and then it was on my birthday, June 24th, mine and Danny Shea's birthday, June 24th, that we got the present of learning that Scrotus, I called him, well, not all of them, but, 6 of them, had overturned Roe v. Wade. So I'm wondering if something comes through to reverse that, because this is coming from the past. This is learning something new. The past is South Node Scorpio, trining the sun in Gemini, learning something new and talking about it. And then the opportunity is for the feminine to rise up. So either something gets better or it gets worse, but we're talking about it. And if that doesn't relate to you at all, or it's not something that you care about, another way to translate this would be getting smarter by going deeper into patterns of the past, and maybe there's a greater understanding because we're in, that last decan of Gemini with the Sun at 25, and then the exact sextile there to Eris in Aries. So there's opportunity to have more courage coming through. That's wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, you can see Mars is definitely it's still in that trine because it's, but it moves forward. But it's not exact yet. So there's still courage to get into your deepest gifts, to come from your deeper gifts. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. I think that one's good. Okay, so now, do I have this lined up here? There we go. Saturn is retrograde on Saturday, 10:28 p.m., June 17th. And so this aspect of the architect from Jupiter, so now Saturn's going to start going this way, and there will be a tight orb of Jupiter to Saturn. So the opportunities to move forward and believe in yourself and create more stability in your life, and the wisdom of the past is there to guide you. And then also what is supporting the Saturn retrograde is the sun and the moon together, again with the learning patterns and the analyzing what works, and once you figured out the pattern of something, you know how to work with it, because when it keeps happening over and over, it's like, oh yeah, I guess I can't ignore this, whatever this is, right? And remember, because Saturn trines the South Node until the 27th of next month, we have some time to work with this. And especially with Jupiter there, Chiron trine Mars, so we talked about that. See how Mars has already moved 1 degree. And then Venus with the sextile, there's an exact sextile here to Mercury and Venus. So again, more thinking and talking from the heart, expressing ourselves with each other, and creative self-expression. Venus in Leo is really, really beautiful energy for receiving others, for making things more beautiful. Venus likes to beautify. Venus likes to unite with others. Venus likes to value, and in Leo, we're valuing other people's creative expression, creative self-expression, and and then with the sextile to Mercury, it's beautiful for talking and listening from the heart, speaking and hearing from the heart is what I should say. Let's see, anything else? Neptune still sextile Pluto, because that will be going on for a while. Let's talk about Saturn retrograde. What does Saturn retrograde mean? Okay, Saturn is our planet of form and structure and mastering life. It takes time. It's our father time, or planet of time. It's a karmic planet, but I kind of look at I look at everything as being karmic, but because Saturn goes slow, so it takes 2 to 2.5 years to get through one sign, and it's, we're early into it. I'll get some more dates for when Saturn, changes. But because Jupiter is opposing the South Node, so I look at Jupiter and Saturn as being the builders of the zodiac. So when I see Saturn, I always look to Jupiter like, because Jupiter goes ahead and opens things up, right? Brings things out. And then Saturn comes in and goes, let's see if this works, right? So Jupiter's been opening the way for us to be more stable and safe and value, ourselves. We're talking self-value, self-worth, and thinking of new ways to open to making more money. Anything to create more stability in your life, right? Which sometimes is, you make more money if you stop spending money in certain ways, right? You work it from both ends. So Jupiter opposing the South Node, and these are the Taurus and Scorpio are, money signs. This lasts until the 23rd of the month, so we have about another week or so of understanding what's happened in the past and, is this the way we want to go? And then Saturn is coming in Pisces, no less, to kind of dissolve a bit of a boundary. Because remember, Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune helps us dissolve what doesn't work. So this Saturn retrogradation period, retrogrades, no matter what planet it is, brings us more internal. So let's say you're a person with a lot of retrogrades in your natal chart. You are more of an introvert. You're more internal. Your focus comes in before you go out, and you go back and forth between the inner and the outer and connecting the dots. People that don't have retrogrades, any planets retrograde, are rare, but they're more extroverted and just moving forward. But that's okay, because you learn through bumping up against life. It doesn't matter. Either way, we're all evolving. So this retrograde period lasts all the way through November. I think it's November 4th. Oh, wait, here's a way to tell. I think it's November 4th. Let's see. Remember the election chart I have here? No, I lied. November 5th, it's still retrograde, but it's about to break through. Yeah. 12 degrees. Yeah, right? Okay. So between the 7 to 12 degree of any sign that's mutable. So we're talking Gemini. So for any Geminis, Sagittarius, and Pisces, this Saturn retrograde will be very beneficial to help you go in. And remember, the inner shifts the outer, like those inner shifts inside affect our outer world eventually. Things are slower when Saturn retrogrades, but it can be a little bit of like a karmic vacuum cleaner, right? Oh, yeah, I forgot to say the other mutable, because we have 4, planets in the modalities when it comes to mutable, fixed, and cardinal, or I should say cardinal, mutable, and fixed, but either way. The mutable signs are there to help us integrate, okay? We have cardinal energy goes out, and those are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And then we have the mutable signs that help us to integrate, and they are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. So those, and anyone with planets or placements, Sun, especially Sun, you're going to feel it more than the rest of us. But if you just want to look and see where Saturn at 7 degrees Pisces is, or where Pisces is in your chart, and look at that house, well, it's been there already because Saturn moves so slowly. You've been working on that, whatever that area of your life is. So Saturn helps us to master an area of our lives in every transit. If this turns out that it's your Saturn return, you're going to come more deeply into your creative abilities, into your empathic abilities, into your psychic abilities, intuitive abilities. You might be, Saturn helps us kind of, it teaches us, and it's teaching us how to master that area of our lives. But if it's a Saturn return, it's really important. Really, really important because it helps you come back home to yourself on Earth, which is nice. When you have the earthly and the spiritual, it's wonderful. But it can delay some things. Saturn is the planet of delays. It's but because you have to work through things. And I like to look at spiritual laws to when I'm working through things. And there is a spiritual law I call the lever law. We call it the lever law. And you can kind of see it right here in this combination with this aspect of the architect where Saturn's at this end. And Jupiter's here at one end trying to open things up. The South Node's back here going, well, okay, we've done a bunch of things in the past, and we've gotten really good at some things, and we're still working on others. And then Saturn's over here going, okay, well, if you can just kind of keep working it, like keep working that lever, then eventually it just opens, right? I mean, there's a lever law in so many different things. Where just think of trying out something new, and you've been working at it, and then you realize, oh, this one way doesn't work, so I'm going to go at a little different of a direction, or I'm going to fine tune something, and then everything just opens up, right? So it's through trial and error. These are good Saturn keywords here, trial and error. So is Virgo, though, and Pisces is the polar opposite of Virgo. So you could be looking at what has worked and what hasn't, and going towards what has worked and letting go of what hasn't, or figuring out ways to make what wasn't working work. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much Saturn retrograde, or Saturn. But with retrograde, that whole process is becoming more internal. Okay, you're working it. Imagine, like you've been heading in a certain direction, like if you're driving or sailing or whatever it is, walking even. And when Saturn retrogrades, so you've been working on and you're going a certain direction, and then Saturn retrogrades, you might kind of stop and go, oh wait, I think I need to go more this way or more this way, or maybe I'm just going to stop and sit and figure it out. And that's especially true with Pluto retrograding as well, right? Same thing. What is the best for my soul is the way to go, right? Okay, and then finally, for the last thing for this week, it is the Gemini new moon coming in at 9:37 p.m. on Saturday. And it's at 26 degrees Gemini. 26 degrees, 43 minutes, so just about 27 minutes or 27 degrees of Gemini. So if you're 26 to 27 degrees, wherever 26 to 27 degrees is in your chart, this is the best, well, whatever house it's in, that would be the best area to plant some new seeds, right? So if it's in your second house, you can plant some new seeds of learning new ways to make more money, or learning new ways, talking about new ways, studying, trying on different things, to make money. Or maybe it's about yourself in the first house, or your fourth house. Maybe it's about your house and your family. Fifth house, creativity. Depends on where this is happening. Just know that new moons are about setting intentions and planting seeds. Okay? So wherever you want to grow, wherever you want to create, wherever you want to heal, whatever it is that you're trying to work with in your life, maybe it's something just simple, or something as simple as having more rest, or having more time to be in your backyard, and you're figuring out, oh, it gets really hot by a certain time, so I have to do it at this time, or the bugs come out at this time, so I have to do it at this time. And then you work to schedule things in for yourself to make your life be more and more and more of what you want to experience. Because it's always about experience, and it's always about building, creating, well, because, we have these darn time constraints here on Earth. It's another thing with Saturn. But planting seeds. And maybe in Gemini, maybe it's about you're focusing in on new educational, especially with Jupiter there in Taurus, new educational processes, or new projects is a word I just heard. Processes and projects. Okay, so, and then also with the double sextile to Eris, you're going to have even more courage to go for what you want. And I do think a lot of it's going to have to do with communication. It's going to have to do with, because remember, Mercury's in Gemini as well, and Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. But I think there's a lot on the news coming up all month, and also we're thinking more in terms of all things that have to do with Gemini, which is, we're questioning, like, what's the truth? We're trying to stay out of duality. We're trying to get into unity, and we have, Venus and Mars there and Leo helping. And the only thing that could be really challenging with all that energy there in Gemini is that there's a possibility that there's so much going on that you're avoiding your own work or your own going towards what you really want, and you're listening too much to things maybe on the news or just other people talking. Now, you might get to a place where you realize, I need silence. And that will help you get more deeply into your wisdom with that South Node there in Scorpio. The Scorpio is always about transformation, bottom line, and so is Pluto. And we have that connection between the nodes. Remember, that's lasting until December 7th. Yeah. But Eris is going to be squaring Pluto all the way through Christmas Day. So, again, there's that courage. And, working things from the past. It all looks really good to me, actually, sitting here kind of just gazing at the chart. Especially with that Mercury sextile Venus, again, because we're thinking in terms of what do we want and how do we get there? And who do we want to be with when we go there? And how do you want to feel about yourself and your life? And if you're not feeling good about yourself, just let that go. Those things come up. I'll end with this, that challenging feelings come up from the past so that we can process them through. And oftentimes, challenging dreams will come up because we're clearing something from the past. It's the way our minds process. And, our subconscious clears out. Yeah. So, I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to say. But if there are any astrologers out there watching and you see something I missed, feel free to drop it in the comments. Okay. Meanwhile, sending you all big hugs again. Take good care. Bye.